switching gears a little bit here, but it's hard to watch for anyone else unless you're there. It seems like the highlight shows, all that sort of stuff. So my question, what's it look like in the future?
Oh, I don't know. They're either going to have to let more people come in and help them, and take away all the red tape, and then figure out what is enduro and how do we package this. So if they're trying to package it to make it a live show, they're going to have to cut the amount of riders that can do it, cut the amount of stages. If it's a live show, they're already pre-recorded the first 2 stages, and then you come into the live show and have it like that. But it's so much more elitist. Then they need to make sure there's another series that's a perfect level below, so the sport doesn't die, because it's not sustainable. If they cut it now, the sport will work for another 4 years, but after that, everything's going to drop off, because people are like, I'm not going to train for something that it's highly unlikely I'll ever be able to get to. So there needs to be like pathways to get to that point, or at least to be still credible or even a pro, but not be at the World Enduro. So there's that, and then the red tape one. It's just like, I've pitched the idea of me going and do kind of a Catro-esque thing where I'll go through on an e-bike. I'll be between the top men and women, so I can still ride down the track. Have a video person go around, get content on it, show people what's actually happening. I'd be presenting, and I'd be giving like my insights of like how things are deteriorating, because sometimes you get absolutely shocked how wrecked the tracks are by the time you ride them. Shocked.
I think the thing is with sport, any sport, you get out what you put in, right? And conversations like this, I think, are really important, because for me personally, I've never really watched enduro. I
don't blame you. I do not blame you.
It's difficult to watch. Anyway, you don't have to go over that. But when you have these conversations and you talk about different riding styles, you talk about all these different approaches, now I'm interested.
Gets you hyped.
Now I'm like, I'm in. Like, I want to watch more. Like, where do I see this stuff? And that's kind of the disappointing thing at the moment, because we don't know. Like,
I know
what it's gonna.
I don't know if I'll be back at any of them going forward, because I'd only go back if I can do a proper show. But like that would involve Pink Bike having to go into the legal side with Warner Brothers and figure out like how can we do that, or is it literally just going to be you're only allowed 3 minutes of race day footage? Well, then like what are we going to make there? It's not going to happen show wise, right? So something, I guess, has to happen between the big monsters in the industry. Monsters that I don't mean it to be in a violent way, but I mean like the Titans or whatever, where they're like, look, Vital, Pink Bike, and GMBN or whatever, like bring credibility to different genres of bike riding. Can we work with you? What would you need to make a good show? And this is what we need. Okay, we're going to give you that access. They'd be winning, because like people from the outside would come in, create the content for them. They wouldn't be charging them, and then everyone's winning, because at the end of the day, like Pink Bike need to create content and Vital need to create content. So everyone would be winning, but it would help legitimize
and the
sport.
Sport needs it. The industry needs it. Like, look at what happened through the birth of enduro for the bike industry, and the bike sales that have happened because of it. And now it's almost like turning that switch off and been like,
And it's just like the stock market. If a few whales pull out, everyone's like, oh shit, and then they pull out too.
Which is what we've seen happen. Yeah,
massively with the teams. And then if next year, like, and I'm not saying like you'll never know how much you personally move the needle, but like if I'm not there creating any content for Pink Bike, and I loved it, but if I'm not doing any of that and that's not on the table, that's then another that's another thing that's gone. So and then with more red tape and the ambiguity around, well, is it ever going to be live, or are they going to like televise, like what's going on? And then is it even enduro anymore if it's just mini downhill, if they have to bring it to like 4 stages, less female and male riders? Like, does it get to a point where you're like, what is this now? But because they have to package it.
I think you've got to be, if you work for one of these companies, you've got to be batshit crazy if you can't see that it doesn't do a massive service to your event. Ultimately, you're trying to create a show. It's entertainment. Take a look at like easy ones, like case studies like Hardline or Rampage. Like all of these stories build up, not because of anything you're doing. No highlight video can get across what the people that are there put across. It's like, Hardline with Jono's.
Totally.
Bernard's
Rampage was a great example as well.
Rampage with your
that
iPhone stories.
The same thing.
Well, it's because I was allowed to just walk. I got onto the social crew in Red Bull, and I was like, look, can I have like proper media access? Because initially we didn't get great access.
Right.
And I was like, look, I
what would that look like? What does not great access look like?
Below that road.
Oh, you can't go up.
Yeah. And I was like, I didn't come all the way over. I was like, I didn't come over here to go to 9 on my iPhone and be like,
see you in a bit, Dan.
Yeah. So I was like, look, and luckily they were really sound about it. And this another, like, Red Bull do so well for a reason. They get it. And I know sometimes they've been quite serious, this and that, and they might have opinions in some areas, but at the end of the day, they're there to put on a good show. And they're like, Pink Bike, if we give them the access, they will boost. It's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
Red Bull Rampage is a product. It's an event. It's a celebration. Give them the access. Let them go up the mountain and get the bangers.
As much as I love the idea of you having to wait outside the Portaloo at the bottom of the hill for the entire day in sweltering heat, I think it's quite easy to see how it added to the event. Yeah. And like the same goes with like, even like what I think is really short-sighted is to think that Bernard's vlogs of the World Cups, to think that they take away from any kind of coverage or footage. They only add, and they only actually, they're more likely to increase your final numbers, which you advertise on.
Of course. So they add layers to a sport. Like, this is, once again, the sport, this isn't football. It's not big enough now. It has grown big for people to be cut down in their tracks.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to be allowed to create content. You know, if they don't want to use a GoPro, they should be allowed to use an Insta360. You're only allowed to use a GoPro at World Cups. Like, loads of weird, random shit.
And that's through sponsorship and stuff. Yeah.
And it's just like, look, there's too many rules, like, with some of it. Like, it's just, you're kind of killing the buzz here. And I understand, look, it's, once again, it's a product and everyone needs to make money. But there's definitely ways in doing it. And I don't know. It's going to be one of those things. Either it's going to get to a point where it'll be like, if they get unionized, where they start kind of doing walkouts or just they don't race, they're like, look, we're not racing this weekend. They're like, no, but you have to. And you're like, no, we're not. Yeah. You need to start doing things the way we want. Like, without us, there's no event. And I understand without you, there's no event. So it obviously needs to be done with respect. But the way it's going in some of, like, you know, especially for Enduro, I am very scared. Because my heart, like, you know, 10 years of my life, I'm always going to love Enduro. I have a lot of respect for it. But I do not know what's around the corner. I don't know where it's going to go. And I feel very lucky to have called it a day when I did and have new things on the horizon.
If you want to see more, just click here, is it?
It's up there. Should be up there.
About there.
Yeah, about
there.
And
then there's other ones here.
Other ones there that you might like.
We're all looking after each other, and that's Christmassy, and that's the Ride Companion.